everyone, I hope you're all really well. I thought I would film a quick Jamberry update for you because I promised I would when I did my first impressions video, which I will link down below if you want to see how I got on applying Jamberry Nail Wraps for the first time. Bit of a warning, it has the world's most sarcastic voiceover in it. Yes, that was kind of intentional because when I started to edit my first impressions and based on how my first impressions went, kind of going down the sort of comedy route of taking the mick out of yourself seemed like the best thing to do. So there you go, you've been warned. So anyway, how did I get on with those first wraps that I put on? What's the present situation with the wraps? Blah blah blah. I managed to get some sample wraps from a local lady who became a Jamberry consultant, and I've always wanted to try out some kind of nail decal type thing. I am quite into nail art, even though I don't have a huge amount of time to do it, and it worked out really well. So I got these, I tried out, it was this one here, and I don't know if you've been able to see from my flappy hands moving around, but I put them on these fingers and obviously they're not on there anymore. To be completely honest with you now, they literally lasted 24 hours, I think it was. I did such a bad job of applying them the first time around. There were big gaps down the side, they were all wrinkled, they felt really rough and scratchy, and I kept catching myself, and then I was worried about scratching my little boy, and I thought, no, let's keep them on overnight. Like I said in my first impressions video, I wanted to go about my life as I usually would, you know, doing dishes and stuff like that. They didn't fall off, they definitely didn't fall off, and I did loads of dishes, and I didn't bother putting any, what are they called? Gloves? I didn't bother putting any like washing up gloves on or anything, and yeah, I had a shower and they did stay on intact, so they were definitely welded on. But they just didn't feel very nice, and they obviously, up close, they didn't look very nice either because of the big gaps down the sides. So it literally got to about 24 hours after I applied them, and I just thought, I think I'm going to have to take them off. And they did come off, you know, relatively easily. I just literally soaked, I did the gentle removal method of just soaking in warm water and then just sort of gently peeling. But even then they were still quite welded on there, so that was kind of reassuring. But it was a shame really that I couldn't test the longevity of them because I wanted to see how long it would last compared to my polished nails. So that brings us up to today, and I have sat down and reapplied some more wraps for you, and I've got them on my little fingers this time just to mix it up a bit. I discovered with the sample sheet that I think I can only apply them on sort of these two fingers anyway, but I have applied them to my little fingers. I posted some pictures on Instagram when I first did my first impressions video, and I had a really long comment from someone who I think was a Jamberry rep elsewhere, and she gave me some really good tips of what I could try to improve the application next time, which I did follow this time. I tried a couple of different ways of putting them on actually, but one of her recommended methods was not to use heat first. It was to put it on the nail first and then apply the heat. And I've managed to get a much better fit this time. I went for, see this one here, so it's out of the sample pack I've got, it's the second to the largest, which, you know, I was already feeling a bit paranoid about how huge my nail beds are. I mean, I don't know whether how many bigger sizes there are that go beyond this, but I'm really hoping that there are, because, I mean, I've seen videos where they do seem to cover quite large sizes. because yeah, that doesn't seem to go up very far. Yeah, this one I think was the only one I could get away with on that finger. The rest of them would just be too small. So I thought, based on what happened last time with the fact that the wrap looked okay, but it actually wasn't, I found another tip online for trying to get the right size. You get some regular Scotch tape, and so I can find the end. You just lay it over the finger you want to work out the size for, and you try and smooth it down as best possible. And then you get a pen, and you literally just draw around. I'm not doing a very good job of this. You just literally draw around the shape of your nail, and then you pull it off. I think that's taken some of my top coat. Probably better to do this on a naked nail first. And then what I tend to do, because these are really sticky, I just put it on the back of my hand and take it off a few times just to take some of the stickiness out of it. And then you literally just get your sheet of wraps, and then you lay it over the top and just try and find the best fit. So I could possibly get away with that floral one for this finger, but I'm not entirely sure if I would want just this finger as an accent. I think that would look a bit strange. But it's really straightforward. It was such a good tip. I wish that I'd known about that before I'd done my first impressions video, because getting the size right is actually really hard, and it's best to try and take your time overdoing that. So back to this application that I've done today. What I have found is the fit is a lot better. It looks a lot better. I don't really have any gaps down the sides, which is great. But I'm still getting a lot of wrinkling down the sides. Now, this is where it probably just comes down to my technique. And I think that's where I need to practice, 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 maybe try a few other application methods. I'm not 100% sure if Jamberry are for me, even if I do nail the application. Just purely from a personal point of view, they do feel kind of thick, and it's a bit of a weird thing to get used to. So again, maybe once I've nailed the application process, then maybe I'll get used to it. But at the moment, I particularly struggle with my left hand. I'm left-handed, so I find it a lot more awkward. I mean, I struggle just putting polish on my left hand anyway. I don't know if everyone is like that with the opposite of whichever hand they are, but it's really super wrinkled around the edges of this one, and it just doesn't feel very nice. It feels like it's going to catch on things, whereas on my right hand, it's not perfect by any stretch, but it is a lot better. I've got a big wrinkle at the top that no matter what I do, I just can't seem to get it out. And I feel like I've followed all the tips really well. I think another mistake I did in my first impressions was I didn't heat the wraps up enough. I forgot. I keep my hair dry because I have naturally curly hair and I try not to overheat my hair. I forgot that my hairdryer, it wasn't on the cool setting, but it was on like a low warm setting, whereas I think it should have been on the hotter setting. So that was, probably my fault. But today, I did make sure I whacked the hairdryer up to the hotter setting, and it doesn't feel like it's made much of a difference. So again, that could just be my technique or something. But I kind of feel like, do I really want to faff around so much that I'm having to practice over and over again just to try and get something on my nails? I mean, I purposefully went for a design which, well, I suppose it kind of goes with the polish that I've got on, but I went with using a design today that I wasn't particularly in love with, because the ones that I do really like, I'm trying to save them until I've worked out what on earth I'm doing. I really like this pink one here, and I don't know if this will show up, but there's like a lace effect one as well. That's really pretty. and these smaller ones, I think they're going to be too small for my little finger anyway. So sorry it's not the most riveting and encouraging update I could have given, but at the end of the day I think it's really important that I'm honest with you, because there's no point in me just saying yes, everything was wonderful and I now love them and I'm going to go out and spend a load of money on them, because that's just not true and it wouldn't be fair. So yeah, Jamberry for the moment, it is my first experience with this kind of nail wrap. I have seen other types of wraps that I'd like to try, like the water ones. They look quite good to apply. I've seen a few videos on those, so I think I'm going to experiment with a few different things and just see what I get on with, and I'll of course update you as and when I do try anything that's worth talking about. But for the moment, I'm not really sold on these. I think if you know what you're doing, in terms of how it works out for the value, I think a sheet of one of these is it £15? I'll see if I can find the price and I'll put it on screen just to confirm, but I have a feeling it's £15 if you want to buy a whole sheet. But that does give you a lot of actual wraps to use, so they would last quite a long time, particularly if you're only doing like an accent or something. I think you can only get sheets that are the same design, which I think is a bit of a shame. I think they probably, I guess they don't have issues selling these things because, you know, everyone seems to know the brand Jamberry. But from my personal opinion, if they did mixed sheets, I think that would be a really good idea, because not all of us necessarily want a whole hand looking the same when it's a design. I think it can look a little bit over the top, whereas an accent's quite nice. And if you were able to get a sheet which, you know, had a mixture of the things that you wanted on there, I think that would be really attractive. So anyway, I am kind of rambling a bit, and I was hoping that this video might be a bit shorter because all my videos seem to be quite long and I end up talking too much, so sorry about that. I really hope this video update was useful for you. If it was, just give me a thumbs up down below so I know, and I will keep you in the loop with any other nail stuff as and when I try it. I hope you're all well, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!